Welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League Show. My name's Emmett. I'm here with my co-host, Brendyn Ford.
Yo, what's up?
You guys can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and
Instagram?
Spotify.
You ever say that?
Huh?
Spotify, there we go.
Where's Spotify?
It's a Spotify.
All right, guys. This week we're going to be talking a little bit about the trade deadline. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Caleb Williams. Stick around for that. But before we get into all that, we're going to start with the news of the week. So, kicking it off with Thursday night football, we had a great game. The Jaguars took on the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. The Jags pulled off the win, 31-24. Trevor Lawrence went 20 of 29 with 204 yards and one touchdown. Derek Carr went 33 of 55 for 301 yards, one touchdown, one interception, 55 attempts. Holy shit. Christian Kirk had a 44-yard game-winning touchdown, and Alvin Kamara had 17 carries for 62 yards and 12 receptions for 92 yards. So if you had him on your fantasy team, congratulations. I do. Give me your thoughts on the game. What did you think?
I think the Jaguars are pretty good. If you guys didn't know that already, I think they came into town. I think they were actually underdogs too. Maybe that was before Trevor Lawrence was a for sure play. He was questionable with his knee, I think it was. The Saints are also struggling. Before the season, a lot of people said that they were for sure a shoe-in to win that NFC South division. And the Buccaneers and even the Falcons are kind of put them to it, just testing them some. No, I think it was a good game. Even kind of came down to the last drive for the last couple of plays. He had Foster Monroe. Is that his name? The tight end who dropped that crucial third and goal pass. I felt awful for him. It also was fun. It's a side point from the actual game, but Michael Thomas has been not really going off on Twitter or X, but kind of just laying down the truth about that play that Derek Carr got pissed at Chris Olave about. If you remember that, that fade ball that went 10 yards out of bounds. He was yelling at him. I guess Olave was never part of the read at all. He was just to clear out. So he was supposed to be, according to Michael Thomas, his one job on that play was to get outside of the corner to clear out that area for Taysom Hill. They run a sail or an out route. And so Olave did just give up, but he was never part of the read. So it's supposed to go Hill and then number 22 and then Michael Thomas. And I guess he just chucked it to Olave. Maybe he was trying to throw it away, but then he got all pissed at him, which is a weird look. But overall, going back to the game, it was a good game. Jaguars are good. And the Saints need to kind of pick it up here.
Yeah, I got the same impression. But that's interesting that Michael Thomas explained that. It makes a lot of sense because if they're running a flood concept, normally when you run to the boundary side of the field, you have that go route that really isn't an option. It's just supposed to take the safety out of the play. So you can hit that 15 to 20 yard crosser underneath, and then you have a little usually 5 to 10 yard range out route. Definitely if you're not doing a good job as the clear man taking the safety out of the play, it fucks up the read, and then you really don't have anything to go with. It was kind of frustrating watching the Saints in the first half. Their offense just looked so stagnant. It looked boring. They looked slightly off. The throws, the receivers were slightly behind them, or just it just seemed to be a little bit of a disconnect. I think even at one point I tweeted, do the Saints know that they can use motion and shifts? Are they aware of that?
This game is not that good.
Yeah, no, I don't get why more teams just don't do that. But, whatever. I'm not in the NFL. And then the second half, it looks like they actually, I think I'm in the second half, the end of the third quarter. It seemed like they finally flipped the switch when they started going with the quick game. It was just, hey, 1, 2, 3, drop back, get the ball out here. You're going here, you're going there, you're going here. I think they just marched down the field. I think it was 4 or 5 plays and hit Michael Thomas in the corner of the end zone.
They still came back, which is great.
Yeah.
At first, during that third quarter, I thought the game was this is over. The Jaguars were running away with it, and it was over. And they ended up fighting back, and again went down the final play.
Yep. So and then Foster Monroe had that unfortunate drop. And for those that don't know his story, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer this past offseason. There was concern he wasn't going to be able to play. He ended up going to remission, I think, 3 months after the initial diagnosis, which allowed him to suit up this year. I did see a terrible tweet, but I have a dark sense of humor, so I chuckled to myself. But someone said he wasn't able to make the crucial catch, which is an awful joke. Very awful.
Oh no.
Yeah,
But hey,
very terrible.
let's give up the Foster though. Hey, that's a tough battle.
Yes.
Give it up to him though. I mean, for real.
I did mention, like, at least on X, that hopefully, hopefully he sees the team psychologist because he took it pretty hard. So I hope he sees him and is able to remove that burden from himself, because it's more than one play. I get he had a little bit of an opportunity there, but it's not on one player. And hopefully that turnaround they had in the third quarter, they can take that into their next games of,
to carry it on. Yep.
Yeah, carry it on to be the offense that they're supposed to be, and they have the potential to be.
For sure.
But yeah. Okay. Cool. So we'll move on a little bit. So the trade deadline is just over a week away here, and there could be some big names on the move, and we're actually going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But some names that could be on the move: Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and pretty much all the Broncos players not named Patrick Surtain right now. Nee, what do you think? We're going to see a fire sale at this trade deadline, or is it going to be a whole lot of nothing?
The Broncos might, if they can find suitors. I think they probably all have like a good price point. I mean, I don't think like Jerry Jeudy's worth anything above like a fourth, maybe. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it had to be for the right price. I don't know. I feel like Derrick Henry might not get moved. I know someone reported it might have been Adam Schefter, but I guess they were calling around. The Titans have been calling around the league, but haven't found much demand yet. So he might not get moved. We talked about Kirk Cousins last week. If you guys haven't watched that segment, go ahead and go watch it. He said he's not going to waive his trade clause. And we kind of talked about if that's the right move or not for him in that last segment. So he's not going anywhere. The Bears have some rumors with Jalen Johnson and Darnell Mooney coming up for their contract extensions. I don't know. So Jalen Johnson, I believe they should not move because he is like a top 20 corner. And at some point you have to keep your guys. Like Brian Poles loves getting these draft picks and whatnot, but at some point you have to keep the good players. Darnell Mooney, though, he might be a sleeper to get traded because they have Tyler Scott. If you remember, he's from Cincy, drafted him in the 4th round, and they have a very similar skill set. Even though I love Darnell, he's a good locker room guy, but he might be up there for the trade block. But Emmett, what are your thoughts on these guys? Did I miss anything?
No. Like I said, we'll get to a little bit more in the video. But I think you had a great analysis of the situation. It'd be really interesting to see which of these guys are actually moved and which ones aren't. So, but I'll leave our thoughts for later part of the video. So if you want to see those, stick around with us. Deebo Samuel is going to be out at least the next 2 games with a hairline fracture in his shoulder that was suffered, I believe it's last Sunday against the Browns. So that's going to be a huge hit for them. I know that they still have Brendyn. But actually, they came out of that Cleveland game pretty banged up. Trent Williams is doubtful to go, I believe I saw, for Monday Night Football. Christian McCaffrey, they're saying, is more than likely going to play. I think he's going to try to fight through that oblique injury.
I think he practiced.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think he practiced on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, Deebo is going to be out for the next couple of weeks. So, they do play the Vikings, so at least that's a little bit of a benefit. I think they play the Vikings, and then I think he's supposed to be back in time for the Bengals game. So, which, I mean, if you're going to need him back. I think
they're 7-point favorites against the Vikings too now.
Yeah, again, I'm not super worried about the Vikings, but I wasn't super worried about the Browns, and look at what happened with that. But the Vikings do play in a dome, so there is that. There won't be a weather situation again. And the Vikings defense is obviously nowhere near what the Browns defense is, which, again, we've had a great segment about that in the preseason. We were calling that maybe Myles Garrett might finally get that Defensive Player of the Year award because he finally had a better team around him. And wow, have they exceeded even our expectations? I don't think we were thinking they're going to be a historic defense here.
Yeah, same here.
More injury news. Justin Fields is going to be out for multiple weeks, but he will not be going on the IR. I believe he had an injury to his throwing hand, but no surgery required.
Yep, he dislocated his thumb on a sack from Daniil Hunter last week. He's not going on the IR, so he's not going to miss 4 weeks. You would think, since he's not going on the IR, maybe he misses this week and then maybe next, and he's back in a few weeks' time here. I think I saw reports that he is getting grip strength in his hand again. So he's just not all the way there in order to play. So see what happens. I expect him back in probably 2 weeks' time.
Perfect. Roger Goodell just actually signed a contract extension through 2027. Could this be his final contract? The last two commissioners have retired, I believe it was at 64 and 65. And by the end of this contract, I believe Roger Goodell will be about 66. He still seems pretty passionate about the job. I know the owners love him and love the job that he does. I think the fans, for as much as they criticize him, do enjoy his antics. He's not Vince McMahon level of leader of the group, but he plays into it, like with the draft coming out to the boos and stuff like that. He plays into it pretty well. So he's got a great sense of humor and a great oh my god, what's trying to think of? He's a great sport about it. So
yeah, he is.
I think the fans love him more than they care to let on. So I don't know. Maybe he's got a little bit longer in him. We'll see. But I know it's a very stressful job.
From a business perspective, he's doing pretty well, right? I mean, we've seen the salary cap should increase because of that Amazon deal, right? So he's bringing money in, right? Something like that. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me regarding that, but he seems to be doing a good enough job business-wise. Now, some of his decisions with the fines he's just been giving out are crazy, but I feel like it's been that way for his entire tenure.
Didn't they turn that over to a third-party group now? Doesn't the third-party group do the fines?
They might have.
Yeah, because I thought it was after the Tom Brady situation that they were like, "Oh, this is."
He needs to do something. I've seen so many clips on Twitter of this guy getting fined $26,000 for this hit, and it's nothing, dude. It's like a shoulder bump. It's dude, are you serious? What the hell is going on?
It's funny. He still gets all the blame for it. He rolls with it. He's a good sport about it. But it's I don't think he actually determines that anymore. I think that got taken by a third party arbitrator because the Tom Brady suspension, it was ruled that he made too much of a personal decision in it, so that power was taken away from him. But yeah, I would say my biggest gripe about him is definitely about the fixing of games. I don't think that situation has been handled very well by him. I think again, you just simply come out and say, guys, we're not fixing games.
All the ads, the commercials that they've been doing, that campaign. Yeah.
And I think if he just comes out and says, guys, we're not fixing games. Be serious. In fact, here, we're going to have our head official after every game. They'll take 5 minutes of questions. Just 5 minutes. They have if reporters don't have any questions for them, they're good, and that's it. I think something as simple as that I think would have been a great fix, but instead he's kind of left it up, and I think that eventually will hurt them in the long run with their viewership. But let's get to this last point here. Kyler Murray. So good news. Kyler Murray has been designated to return from IR for the Cardinals and could be suiting up very soon for them. I know he's coming off the ACL tear, and he's been posting videos of him working out and everything, feeling great, looking great. What do you think they actually? I mean, he's coming off the IR, so they're going to probably intend to play him this year. What are your thoughts on that, B?
Yeah, he probably ended up playing in a week or two. I mean, he just entered a 21-day return period. I feel 5 days ago or something like that. Not even, maybe 3 or 4 days ago. So he'll probably play here pretty soon. I won't be surprised he even plays next week, maybe potentially. See what happens. Maybe they can get some wins.
Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of rust there because it's a new system, and he hasn't played in a year now. But it could be a great fantasy stash if you pick him up right now. He starts going off. If you need a quarterback, you can use him. He's got great running ability still with his legs, or you can use him as potential trade bait later in the season as you get down to the wire if you need an extra piece, and you can just include him in. But yeah,
True.
so that's the news of the week. That'll be at the end of that segment. Thank you for sticking around with us for that. So like I said, we will be talking about trade deadline a little bit later in one of our segments. We're also going to be talking about Caleb Williams, and if there's a little bit of rust on his generational mantle there.
Like resume. Yep.
Yeah. Is the light dimming a little bit on what's supposed to be the brightest prospect of all time? But before we get to that, we're going to do our games of the week. So we go, for those that don't know, we cover games. We pick 3 or 4 games every week. We try to predict the score. I think last week we went 2-2. What was our record be last week?
So last week you had Cowboys, Lions, and Seahawks, 2-1, and then I had Chargers, Lions, and Bengals, so 2-1.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I love it when we both come out winners.
There we go.
So for those that don't know, we do win a lot here. We pick a lot of winners. We do a great job with that. So it's a great idea to tune into our segment, listen to our thoughts, and if you agree with us, place your bets on those. But what I'm finding very interesting before we fully dive into the segment is it seems to be the later into the season we go, the closer these games get. Because I remember when we first started doing the segment, it was like, oh, the Bills are favored by 7.5, and oh, this team's favored by 5.5. It's like, damn. Now, all 4 of our games that we have picked for this week, no team is favored by greater than 3 points. ESPN does not give any team more than 59% chance of winning. So it's pretty much a 50-50 split between teams here. So, like I said, it seems like as we really get deeper into the season, it really just does become a more tight game. So
we also have a few great games this week too.
Oh yeah,
games this week are awesome. Really good games. Yeah.
So let's see if we can't go a perfect 4-0, but that's going to be a challenge. All our games are super close. We're going to start off with the Dolphins-Eagles game. So that game is going to be in Philadelphia. The Eagles are favored by 3, as normally the home team is. And ESPN is giving the Dolphins actually a 59% chance of coming in and taking down Philadelphia. B, who's your pick and why?
So I actually had to dive into some data for this one because I really had no clue. I'm going to go with the Eagles, and here's why. Both the Dolphins and the Eagles have very good offenses. The Dolphins are number 1 total offense. The Eagles are number 2. But here's where the difference lies. The Eagles are number 9. They're 9th in total defense right now. They give up 21 points a game. The Dolphins are 20th in total defense. They give up 26 points a game. And both teams struggle with turnovers. They're both in the red for the turnover margin. But the Eagles are -1 on the season so far. The Dolphins are -4. Plus, Eagles are at home. So give me fly. Eagles fly.
Okay, fly Eagles fly it is. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I think they have an explosive offense that allows them to put up points when they need to. I think they have a very opportunistic defense that allows them to take advantage when they take advantage just enough to lock up some games. I know that Dolphins haven't really played too many teams yet. I believe when we're looking at their record, or there's a mention of their record, they've only beat teams that are under 500, and the one team they played that's over 500 so far, the Bills, they end up losing to pretty badly. Don't talk yourself out of it. Come on.
I think I saw your wheels spinning there for a second. I'm like, is he gonna change it?
No, Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins. I don't trust the Eagles' offense. I think they've been pretty stagnant. Jalen Hurts is coming off a bad game. Also, Philadelphia has a lot of injuries to their secondary. I know I think both their safeties were questionable. And I think Darius Slay is either coming off an injury or he is injured. So I think it's going to be really tough for the Eagles DBs to contain the Dolphins receivers. So, all right. So we got Dolphins for me, Eagles for you. Next up, we got Lions Ravens. Another one that's in Baltimore. Ravens are favored only by 3. They are the home team, and usually the home team does get a 3-point advantage. And ESPN has given the Ravens a 54% chance of winning. B, who are you taking?
Give me the Lions in this one, man. I'm drinking that Dan Campbell, the Lions soup, man. Lions are number 3 right now in total offense, and the Ravens have the second best total defense right now. So that's going to be the big factor in this game. The Lions are also +2 in the turnover battle. Ravens are -1, so maybe they can get a couple turnovers today. They have to get in plus territory with those turnovers and end up scoring points, because it's hard to play on the road in Baltimore. But yeah, man, give me the Lions.
No, I can't do it. I was gonna try to convince myself to go Ravens. I can't. But, the Lions may not have a lot of well-known pieces, but Sam Laporta has been playing out of his mind for tight end, and he justifiably should be in Rookie of the Year conversation. He isn't because he's a tight end, but he should be.
Dude's a boss.
Jameer Gibbs is going to finally get some more opportunities now that David Montgomery's out. Amon-Ra St. Brown is still an absolute beast who doesn't get enough recognition. He very easily could be in the consideration for top 10 receivers in the league. The Ravens have a very vaunted defense, like you mentioned, the number 2 in total yards and yards per game. But I love the Lions' grit. I think Dan Campbell's going to get those boys ready. He's going to get them fired up to come play. And it's hard to bet against a team that's swinging and fighting like that. So I know it's going to be in Baltimore. I think we need to start, just for future segments, I think we need to start including the weather prediction for the games, just so it helps a little bit, because the Ravens do play outdoors. And if we're talking about a wet, muddy game, and obviously that switches who we think is going to pull it out. But that's future segment problems. So yeah, give me the Lions right now. So we're both picking the Lions here. Moving on to game 3, we got another tight one. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the LA Rams. Grit versus flash, blue collar versus white collar. The game will be in LA, so it'll be sunny and 75. I can almost guarantee you that one. They do have a dome either way. So the Rams are favored by 3. ESPN is giving the Rams a 50% chance of winning. B, who are you taking? Steel City or Rams? Ram House.
Ram House. Give me the Rams. It's tough, but that Steelers offense is still a question mark for me, honestly. And also Matthew Stafford is playing well right now. They have Cup going. It's tough. I'm looking at it. I don't know if I want to switch. Yeah, Rams.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Rams. I think it is going to be a tough game because the Steelers do have such a great defense. But again, that offense is so suspect. And they're coming off a bye week, which usually, for great head coaches, that's a great advantage. Like, I think it's Andy Reid, that's like almost perfect coming off of bye weeks since he's been in Kansas City. But they're playing in a dome, so they're going to be great weather. The Rams are going to be able to throw the ball around as they normally like to. I know the Rams have a running back problem because
who's starting for them? Is it that Williams guy?
No, he's out. He's on IR.
He's out. Okay. Shit, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, he's on IR. So they're rolling with, oh my God, Darnell Henderson the third or junior.
Oh, Henderson. Yeah, I remember him now.
Yeah,
okay.
They just released him to his practice squad and elevated him. But I don't think they care too much about that. They want to throw the ball around. They still have Puka Nacua. They still have Cooper Kupp. So I think those two will make up for a lot of the run game anyway. It'll just be short, choice routes, or it'll be screens to them.
Right.
But again, I think it's going to be a tight game, but I still just can't see the Steelers doing a whole lot on offense. I mean, the Rams have the Rams have a stingy young defense. So every week they're getting slightly better. So for all those reasons and more, give me the Rams. So I'll take the Rams with you, which is not good because historically speaking, when we pick the same team, it doesn't end well for us.
That's true.
Last game, we're going Falcons Bucks. Buccaneers. This game is going to be in lovely Tampa Bay. The Bucks are favored by 3, and ESPN is giving the Bucks a 52% chance of winning. What are your thoughts, B?
Give me the Bucks on this one. I don't have any quantifiable objective data on this game, but I just trust the Bucks offense and Baker Mayfield a little bit more than I do the Desmond Ridder led Falcons offense. Also, the Bucks defense is stingy, man. You know, they could force the Falcons to be a very one-dimensional team today and make them just run the ball, which, I mean, they have Bijan back there, so they will. But again, if you can force the Falcons to be one-dimensional, make Ritter make turnover, like he'll just give the ball away, like it's a damn like Christmas
Yeah.
present. Like, here you go, pick. So yeah, give me the Bucks.
I was trying to cheat a little bit there while you were talking. I was trying to look into the future. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to see the weather. I was like, I don't want to stay and say, oh yeah, the Bucks. Give me the Bucks, and then it's going to be 30 degrees and sloppy, rainy. Tampa, like Tampa can get, and be like, oh,
Yeah, it's true.
I should have picked the Falcons. And it's going to be 84. It's going to be a beautiful day in Tampa, Florida. No chance of rain at all. So,
Sunny sky, hot.
yeah, it's supposed to be gorgeous there today. It's rainy everywhere else in America. I
Yeah.
also did look at the weather for the Baltimore game. It's going to be 60 degrees, no rain, but 16-mile-an-hour winds in Baltimore today.
Oh, windy.
So,
Okay.
It's going to be windy in Baltimore.
That might favor the Ravens a little bit with that running attack, but we'll see.
If you're going to talk about who's got the better run game, the Lions are down all their backs except Jahmyr Gibbs, and the Ravens have Lamar Jackson and whoever else they can throw in the backfield. It just works for them.
The Lions' O-line is so good though, but yeah, sorry.
It is, but you can't run between the tackles with Gibbs, at least not consistently. So
that's true.
I'm sure they'll figure it out, but I'm sure that game's going to be sloppy, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens pull it out. Back to the Falcons Buccaneers game. Yeah, the Bucks have been carrying a little bit of a chip, a little bit of a swagger. I'm sure that comes from their leader, Baker Mayfield, who's just apparently wowed that team over. And we don't know the numbers, but he seems to have really revitalized his career so far through the first 5 or 6 games they've played. I'm surprised they're only favored by 3 against the Falcons, though. And ESPN is giving them a 52% chance of winning. But give me the Bucks. I'm going to take Baker Mayfield over Desmond Ritter. I don't think it's too different. If Baker plays a clean game, I think the Bucks pull it out. Which I'm now kind of realizing I think we need a better job of paying attention to the Bucks, because I don't think we had high expectations for them going into the season. But they're clearly playing well, and I'm trying to think of who's on that team, and I can't think of anybody except Mike Evans. So
true.
Okay, so let's recap.
So we picked 3. Yeah, we have 3 of the same picks. The only difference is the Dolphins and the Eagles game.
That's never good for us.
So one of us, yeah, it's not. It's not. Well, let's see what happens, though. Let's see what happens.
All right. So that's our picks of the week. Like I said, normally do pretty well. I don't know if I would trust our picks this week. Whenever we pick the same teams, we usually go 0 for 3. So, but if you've been with us for this part, for our news segments or our game picks, thank you so much. For those of you who've been waiting for that little micro hook, waiting for the Caleb Williams payoff or the trade deadline payoff, your time is now. We're going to get into the segments of the week. For those that don't know, we do 2 segments every week. We then also break them up and release them later in the week as individual videos as well. This week, we're going to start off by talking about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams came into this season with such high hopes, high promise. He's generational. He's the next Patrick Mahomes. He is top 10 quarterback now before he's even played down in the NFL. And I think we've seen over the last 3 weeks a little bit of a chink in that armor, a little bit of chink in that shine.
Yep.
So before we get too deep into this, if you're watching this, why don't you guys do us a favor? Why don't you guys do us a favor and go down to the comment section, give us a like, give us a subscribe down there, and tell us what you think. Do you still think Caleb Williams is a generational talent, or is he just a really great prospect? Or else, as you think he's not a great prospect at all? But let us know what you think. We always love hearing from you guys. We love talking with you guys down in the comment section. But now we're going to get into it. B, you tell me, what are your thoughts? He's had 3 bad games in a row against Arizona, Notre Dame, and now against Utah. What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams as a generational prospect?
It's a tough one, Emmett. It is. I'm still looking at that graphic that I forget what channel the USC Utah game was on, but they kind of just flashed it up. I think maybe it was Fox. I don't know. Yeah. So versus non-top 25 teams, for those that don't know, his completion percentage gets non-top 25 team to 70%. His yards per game is 317, and his TD to interception ratio is 78-7. So pretty much 10-1. He does not turn the ball over much against non-top 25 teams. Versus top 25 teams, he is 51% completion percentage. His yards per game is 172, and he has a 1-to-1 TD to interception ratio. So he threw 6 touchdowns, 6 picks is the actual number. The one caveat to this data is he had 23 starts against non-top 25 teams and 5 starts against top 25 teams. So obviously there's a big difference in sample size there for non-top versus top 25 teams. To answer the question, is he generational or great? It's tough, man. I'm looking at this data, and he struggles against good defenses. Like it's right there. And I'm not trying to nitpick his numbers, but when you're putting up 172 yards a game and gets top 25 teams, not even 200, 172. If you're generational going against a college defense, you would think you would play fairly, at least, right? 172 is not good. I'm pretty sure they lost all those games too. Like, not saying he's the reason why, but you can probably pull in a lot of weight to his play and just the offense in general. I am 60% leaning towards that he's just a very great prospect. I think the term generational is also kind of like vague. Trevor Lawrence was described as generational, which he's really, really good too. But what makes a guy generational? That's really the question. We don't have to dive deep into it now, but like, I want to know that logic. Like, what makes him? He has awesome plays. Like you see all the time him roll out the pocket, evading pressure, zipping a 50-yard pass downfield like it's nothing. His raw talent is there, okay? But in regards to the NFL, can he play in structure? Can he operate within less than 2.75 seconds and get the ball out on time? Structure, rhythm is everything there, right? But yeah, I'm more leaning towards he's very great. Hey, I also take him. He's a very great prospect. It's hard to find a good quarterback. But is he generational? I'm not sure.
So
sorry, man.
I'm going to take this. I know we're the Rational Football League show. I'm going to take this irrational for just a moment. And I do need to give a shout out, and I will give it out when it's appropriate. Is Caleb Williams going to be the biggest bust in NFL history? I say that because, like we just covered with those numbers, right? If we're looking at the raw data of the numbers, right, they're like, oh, well, that's just top defenses. He doesn't have talent around him. It's a Lincoln Riley problem. But we've commented before against those bad teams. Is he seeing the field well? Like, that corner blitz came front side and just blew him up. Oh, he had a crosser going around, and he just took off. I mean, great highlight play, but you have to hit that crosser on third down. In the NFL, you just can't do that. Or he's playing against Nevada, and it's cover 3. There's an out route. It's 3rd and 4. And it's like, okay, it should be 1, 2, 3. Hit that out route. First down, right. But instead, because it's Nevada, he drops back, sprints up, runs left, runs right, does a little flip, and then, hits it for a touchdown. It's like, that's great against Nevada, but like, you can't do that against Cleveland. You can't do that against Philadelphia, Notre Dame. I mean, I'm talking about NFL teams. You can't do it against Notre Dame even. You can't do that against Utah. I mean, Utah, he looked completely useless with his arm. The only way it seemed like he was effective was with his legs. Yep. So, again, it's an issue that we've seen against the bad teams too, but he's also now carrying those. I'm saying we've seen issues with the good teams, but those issues still remain prevalent against the bad teams. He's just able to clean it up because the team is bad. It shouldn't be. It's not going to be. Sunday talent is the way you can say that. So here's the shout out I need to give. Before this season, I was talking with a friend of mine, Matt Vargas, and I asked him about. I was like, "Hey man, what are your thoughts about Caleb Williams?" And maybe we need to get him on the show at some point. But I asked him like, "Hey, what are your thoughts on Caleb Williams?" Just trying to like small talk conversation. And he mentioned to me, he goes, "I don't see it. I don't think he's great. I think he's going to be one of those top hyped up, but a bust." And I kind of scoffed at it at the time, thinking, "No way." But the more we watch, the more questions it feels like we have. And the thing that nails it home for the bust perspective, right? Because what we've kind of mentioned, right? Like, is he seeing the field? Is he getting to his? You can fix that. You can coach that up. Like, hey, Caleb, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, hit here. 1, 2, 3, hit here. You can walk him through those steps. But I think the problem I'm starting to see not only on the field is off the field as well. Asking for, well, whatever team drafts me, I should get a portion of minority ownership of that team, which isn't against the rules. And his agent should have told him that before any kind of sound. He hasn't anything to shut it down. He's never come out and be like, hey guys, I don't know why that rumor started. That's not true. I'm happy to go with whatever team drafts me number 1 overall. And I'm happy to be a part of an NFL organization. Nothing like that has been said. Even when his dad was saying, hey, he might go back to college for another year. Didn't step up and say anything. Talking about that Notre Dame fan that ran onto the field and was doing the shit. I mean, again, the Notre Dame fan should not have done it. That's wildly inappropriate. You don't go touch a player. You especially don't go and film yourself like in his face and shit. That kid probably should have been arrested, honestly.
Caleb actually handled that well for like what was going on. I would have snapped. After losing a game like that, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, what I mean? Because you don't know. You're walking off the field, so some dude runs up and starts grabbing you. Like, I wouldn't. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know what you're gonna do here.
Yeah.
So he didn't handle that well. But in the interview, in the post game, I guess interview,
like
whatever
it was, like the presser, like a day afterwards, right? Or it was 2 days afterwards, or something like that.
Yeah, well, they asked him about it, right? The appropriate NFL response would have been, yeah, Notre Dame came out with a great game plan. They looked really good, and we're looking forward to Utah. We're moving on to Utah, right? That's the NFL appropriate answer. Like, I'm not going to address some fan running onto the field saying, hey, don't paint your name. We're on to Utah. Like, that's a great win for them. It was a great team win for them. They played very well. We're on to Utah. Instead, he mentioned, man, all those people would love to wear these size 12.5 shoes, and lions don't listen to the opinions of sheep. And it was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, yes, he said, he's like, a lot of those dudes would love to be in these 12.5 size shoes. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, but why are you? What the fuck are you doing, dude? It showed such an immaturity to not sit here and just be like, I'm not going to address a fan running onto the fucking field. Like, that's a dumb question. We're on to Utah. To sit here and give it any kind, like, it was a 35-second response. So, and some people were like, oh, well, it's, but you still gave it the time of day to address a fan running onto the field and talk about how he wish he was me. And what?
Yeah, it was kind of left. That's like outfield left, bro. Like, why do you even say that?
Right, like, that to me shows an immaturity. Yeah. It shows an ego that's always starting to build and develop. And then we see his antics on the sidelines now, his frustrations coming out, and all this other stuff. Agreed. And it makes me question, how coachable is he? Is he going to get to an NFL team and think, hey, I run this shit, you guys drafted me, I want part ownership of this team, I ain't gonna listen to a fucking coach telling me I need to stop doing what makes me special. Right. And I think that's where we get to the bust potential that I see. Not that he can't clean it up and still be a special player. It's, is he going to be willing to clean it up? Is his ego going to be too big, is where my biggest concern comes with him now going forward after seeing his response to these last 3 weeks of poor play.
Yeah. So, in my thoughts of that, bro, you hit it right on like the head. Just to give you a little bit of a different perspective for everyone out there too. Me personally, bro, if you can walk the walk, then like do it. But like, you gotta play well. Like, if you want to go out there and be like, yeah, I'm the best shit out there, my shit doesn't stink, okay, but put up more than 180 yards against a top 25 team, then win. You know what I mean? That's all my thing. People can have their own, I don't know, like personality, I guess, and have their own chip on their shoulder and their swagger, but you better be able to back that shit up. Then go out there and play well.
Yeah,
but that's my last thought on that.
I will include one last thought on this, just so we have it on film and on paper. Another additional concern I'm seeing a little bit with Caleb Williams, and this one may not be completely founded, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. And please, if you're watching, take it with a grain of salt here. But Caleb Williams came into Oklahoma and took over for the starting position for Spencer Rattler against Texas, I believe it was, in the Red River rivalry game. Played really well, got the job the rest of the year. Then transferred to USC, where you're now playing a different slate of opponents. You're in the Pac-12. You're no longer in the Big 12. Different teams. You still keep Lincoln Riley, right? and he looked really good against these teams. But then we saw the first hiccup with him in the second meeting against Utah, where he didn't look as dominant as he had been. And I think it was in the Rose Bowl, if I remember that correctly, where they played them again.
Yep.
And now this year, we're seeing a bunch of teams that have now played him a second or third time. University of Arizona, Arizona State, Stanford, Notre Dame multiple times, Utah. And he's starting to look, I may have mentioned one team he hasn't played yet, but he's starting to look worse and worse now that these teams have seen him a second and third time. So is it a matter of they've now figured out the recipe of Caleb Williams and knowing of, oh, we need to keep him in the pocket. Oh, we need to work on a scramble drill. Have these teams figured out a sauce to contain Caleb Williams? And if they can figure it out, NFL teams are definitely going to figure out. They're going to already take the game plans they saw at Utah and go, can we implement that? We can implement that. We got better athletes than Utah does. So he's going to probably
surely can.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's going to come into the league again against teams now that are going to be analyzing what Utah did and using that same strategy against him and Lincoln Riley. So that's a little bit of a concern for mine going forward. But again, I don't have a foundational. I don't have the stats and numbers of, oh, this is the first meeting, this was the second meeting performance. But it is something to at least keep an eye on because U of A again held him pretty well. Notre Dame got 3 picks off of him. Utah has pretty much made his arm useless, at least the meeting yesterday. He had to win it with running. So
yeah. And can I just say too, just to bring it all back to the original question, we're not trying to shit on the kid. The kid's good. He's a great prospect. But we're debating, does he deserve the term generational? Trust me.
Right.
I am a Bears fan. We're probably going to take him. He's going to be probably a Chicago Bear in about six months' time. Maybe. Him or Drake, May. It's either him or May, right? I'm not saying I would not like the kid on the Bears. I would love him, right? But what we're trying to say is he really generational? That's what we are trying to debate. And hell, the season's still going on. Still got, 5 weeks left of the regular season-ish. The tide could change around him. But as of right now, I'm leaning more towards that he's not generational, but he's good. Great even.
So I want to, just a quick answer because now we're pressed for time on this. Give me a quick answer here. If he shuts it down, like some people suspect he will, because playoffs are out of reach pretty much. The Heisman's out of reach pretty much. If he says, you know what, I'm just going to protect myself and start preparing for the NFL draft, shuts it down and doesn't play another college game, would you consider, based on the last 3 games we saw of Caleb Williams, taking Marvin Harrison Jr. first overall versus Caleb Williams first overall as a Bears fan?
To answer that question, I don't think. I mean, I think the Bears should take Marvin regardless. I kind of tweeted that yesterday after watching the Buckeyes game. Is dude, they need Marvin Harrison Jr. as one of their top 3 picks, right? But to answer your question, I don't think the order really changes or matters for me. If they're going to draft Caleb, you can draft him first, sure, and then draft Marvin. I mean, if they're both going to be Bears, I don't think it really matters. But if he does shut it down, I will say that I will 100% judge him as a competitor, right? Because that's just to me, it's dude, you're giving up on the season, and the last taste we have, the last experience we have of you is you just being awful for the last 3 weeks, right? Is that the last impression you want to give? These scouts, front offices for the NFL team, dude, come on, man, go out there and play.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up that segment for us for the Caleb Williams. Tell us what you guys think again in the comment section. Do you think Caleb Williams is a generational prospect? Do you think he's just a great prospect, or do you think I went a little bit overboard and that my opinion of him being a potential biggest bust in NFL history is way, way too much? Let us know in the comment section. Give us a like, subscribe. We do this every week. If this is where we're losing you, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We have been the RFL Show. Again, I'm Emmett. This is B. We'll see you guys next. So for those that have been sticking around for the trade deadline portion of our podcast today, thank you so much for being patient with us. We're going to get into it now. To keep it simple, because we don't have a crystal ball, we don't have a magic 8 ball here. We're just going to predict, do we think the player will be moved or not? Pretty much we're going to be saying, is this going to be a hot trade deadline for the NFL, or is it going to be a boring, quiet time? So starting off hot here with the Las Vegas Raiders receiver. Is Hunter Renfrow going to be traded, B? Tell me what you think.
He should be,
everyone's
man.
asking about.
Right, you're right. The most pressing question in NFL football right now. No, dude, they have to trade him. Free that man, dude. He's been like
I
going
know.
off for like the 2 previous seasons, and then they get what's his name? I'm blanking on him. He played at the damn Patriots. Jacoby Myers. They
Oh
they
yeah.
they get they get Myers, and it's like, all right, yeah, dude, you're pretty much scum now. See ya. Free that man. Trade him. Trade him.
I know.
Get at least a 7th-round pick from him or something. Just trade him, please. Free
If he's
him.
not in a Patriots uniform by the end of next week, I'm going to be very surprised by what New England is doing because he seems to fit their mold as a shifty white slot receiver to a T.
True.
All right. I do agree. I think he's gone. I think he needs to be moved. I think that man needs a new opportunity somewhere else because he was doing so well. And then out of nowhere, it was just like, nah, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Next up, we got another Las Vegas receiver, Devontae Adams, traded over from the Packers. I believe it was last year. Seems very unhappy. Seems like he wants to go play for a contender. B, is he gone?
I don't think so. I think the Raiders are going to hold on to that man. I mean, he's top 5 receiver, maybe even top 3 right now. Keep him. Keep him. Maybe try to get a quarterback in this draft or a new quarterback going forward. I know Jimmy G was pretty much a short-term rental. He wasn't the long-term answer. Pair him up with a better quarterback. Let that man cook. Don't trade him.
Yeah, and I think even more so, I think it's just going to be a petty move because I don't think he gets moved because they're still paying the comp to the Packers, aren't they? They still have like this year's draft.
No clue. Yeah, maybe.
So, I mean, and you don't normally want to trade a guy when you're still having to pay for him. It's kind of like buying a car and then having to just immediately sell it on the street after you're still making payments on it.
Yeah.
Not really a great front office decision to do that. Moving on, we got another big name here. We got Brian Burns. There have been trade rumors around this guy for it feels like at least a year and a half now from the Carolina Panthers defensive end, Mr. Spider-Man himself. Where is Mr. Burns going? Or is he staying in Carolina, B?
I think they should keep him. I don't see any benefit of trading him. Like, he's a top 15 edge, maybe even top 10, maybe. Keep him, man. Don't get rid of him. You already got rid of DJ Moore, and they're like, oh, now we need a number 1 receiver for our rookie quarterback. Bro, just keep him then. Like, why'd you trade him? Don't trade Burns. Keep him.
I'm gonna disagree with this one. I'm gonna say they should move him because they need a first-round pick. They need picks. They had to trade so much to the Bears to get their rookie quarterback, and they're like, oh, whoops, we have nothing in the cupboard here. So I think as a way to help accelerate that rebuild process, I think you should move him. They also don't seem too inclined to pay him, which is kind of odd considering they're not really paying a whole lot of other people.
I didn't realize he was that young. Damn.
He was,
keep him.
First round pick out of FSU, I believe, in the same year Nick Bosa.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was I think he was in the 2019 draft. So, I mean, I think they would reluctantly trade him.
They need assets.
But they might have to because we don't pick until like round 3 and we need pieces now. So, yeah, and you can at least get a first for Brian Burns. So that's why I think they'd move him. Moving on, we got getting on to the Broncos portion of our trade deadline questions.
Trade every Bronco player. They need to trade everyone. They sold their souls. They get Russell Wilson. He did not pan out. They need assets, man. Go ahead, trade them off. Just build this thing from the ground up. Let Sean Payton get his players. Just trade everyone. Sell.
Yeah, again, it's another guy that there's been rumors for a while about. They're going to move him. They're looking to move him. They want to move him. No one's calling about him. So it's like I can't figure out what's going on in Denver with their skill position. Like, I have so many guys where like this should be working out, and they're not. Cortland Sutton's another one. Like he had wide receiver 1 potential written all over him. 6'4" dude. Yeah. I don't know if they can trade him. I wonder if it's just getting to the point where it's like
him, though. There has to be
some the rest of the year and then
some
like
a Bills or Chiefs or some sort of like contender that can use him as like a wide receiver 3 or something or 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, that's kind of what you're gonna have to trade him for because again, he's got no production to show that he's worth wide receiver 1 capital. I'm sure if someone called and was offering a 2nd or a 3rd, he would already be gone. So, teams must be calling like, I guess we'll give you a 6th maybe for him.
I was like, Jag. Oh yeah.
In the same vein, Smith. We got another Jag on the lineup here.
Oh God.
Yeah. Mr. Jerry
All the
Judy
wrong reasons.
himself, who's been the talk of the town for the last 2 weeks
Yes.
for all the wrong
Yeah. I
reasons.
think that, well,
Do
one,
you think
he's
do you
already
think he
like,
gets
I
moved?
can't remember his exact I don't know, quote, but when he was having a uh some reporters at his like locker room or as locker, he's pretty much just sounding off on the Broncos team, basically like, yeah, quarterback's not doing his job. The play calling pretty much sucks. And again, I'm like paraphrasing here. Obviously, he didn't say that. So now he's already talking to like outwardly, right? Kind of pulling a chase, Claypool, and just trade him, man. Honestly, he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything good for you. Just trade him. Just get him out.
Yeah. Another one I think he needs to be gone. Just whatever you can get, 7th-round pick swap. Fuck it. Get him out. Yeah, it's crazy. I think we were looking at the numbers. I think he's only had 1,000-yard season. I don't think actually he's even had a 1,000-yard season. He's got like 9 touchdowns in his career, and it's so weird. There was so much hype around this dude and his ability to get in and out of breaks and cuts.
Yeah.
There feels like there's constantly so much talk about this guy's potential, and it's like, dude, he's in year 4 with no 1,000-yard seasons or 1,000-yard seasons. He's never
Ship
had
him.
more than 70 catches in a season. You got 9 total touchdowns in your career. Just get rid of him. At this point, you got to call a spade a spade. He's a bust. Let him go somewhere else and bitch and moan on the bench somewhere else. Danielle Hunter for the Vikings. 8 sacks. He's leading the league in sacks. Do you think Minnesota moves off of him?
Mostly
He's a guaranteed free agent at the end of the year, by the way.
They need to start thinking about their long-term franchise quarterback. They already said they're not trading Kirk. Trade him, Hunter. Could you get a first-round pick from him? Second? The third?
No. Third, I would say third, because not anything against him. It's just strictly the contract situation. If he had like 3 more years on his deal, I think he's like 29 also. You could probably get a second, maybe the equivalency of a first, like a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. But with his age and the guarantee of him being a free agent at the end of the year, you can't tag him.
I'm not an NFL GM, and this will probably never happen.
I think for that,
because of this reality. But do you think they could trade him for a second or third, and then use that in a package to kind of move up within the top 6 picks of the 2024 draft to try to draft like a quarterback? Like just use it as like a package to kind of move up? Yeah. Like start at like.
I don't see why they couldn't. It's just I think that it's going to depend on where their selection falls. If they get to fourth, they're 4th overall and they're trying to move up to 1. Obviously, the package you need to move up 3 picks is a lot different than if you're moving up from pick 12 to pick 1. That's going to be 3 firsts, 2 seconds, 3 thirds, and a fourth to get from 12 to 1. But from 4 to 1, you're looking at this year's first, next year's first, and maybe a third to do that. So I don't think they move him. I don't know. I think Minnesota's in this weird limbo space where I think they put themselves in a bad spot to where they can't trade. They gave no trade clauses to all these guys, and now it's like, hey, your season looks like it's going down the tank quick. And I've seen some numbers that suggest, they're actually better than their record suggests. But you are what your record is. Your defense has been not great. You've been turnover prone all season. You got rid of your starting running back this past offseason. So I think they just put themselves in a bad situation where they can't move anybody. And they just can't convince these guys to say yes to the deal. So for that reason, I don't think he's moved. I think he should be, but I don't think he will be. Next one, we're on to staying in Minnesota. We kind of know our answer to this, but Kirk Cousins. Do you think Minnesota can convince him to waive the no trade clause?
And if he says he's not going to waive it, he wants to stay. He's probably going to stay. And again, self-plug out there. We had a segment. We have a standalone video on Kirk Cousins and his choice to not get traded. We came up with that last week. So go ahead, look for that video for more of an in-depth breakdown of what's going on with him. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get moved. He doesn't want to be, and I think they respect him enough to be like, yeah. And they have the no trade cost, so.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of a bold take here. I think it's a career killer because, and again, I don't think he does get moved because I don't think the front office is going to convince anybody to do shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, seriously, at this point, why would anyone give Kirk Cousins a deal? Like, he's not going to get starting money anymore. He's definitely not getting a fully guaranteed contract. You went to Minnesota in 2018. You've got one playoff win in the past 5 years. You can't just kick and scream and blame everybody else. Like, that's unacceptable, for a 5-year run. Especially at this age, 36, you're not
He'll
going
be a
somewhere.
bridge player for next team. Like, he's going to be a bridge player.
Maybe a contender picks him up. But what? Yeah,
right.
For example, maybe he goes to Atlanta on a 2-year, $30 million deal. So it's like, all right, congratulations, you're now a bridge in Atlanta. I think if he gets moved, he can change it. Like we talked about in the video, if he gets moved, he can change the narrative, win a couple more playoff games, and go, hey, look, see, if you put a team around me, I can get you I can get you somewhere, and maybe he gets himself a shiny new deal. But no, I think this is the end of his career pretty much. Speaking of end of careers, very unfortunate to say, Derrick Henry, who's 29. I didn't realize he was that old already. Pushing 30. Yeah. We know how running back bodies kind of break down. He's a big boy. He seems like he's being underutilized in Tennessee.
They're trying.
Do you think he gets moved somewhere?
I don't think they're finding a suitor yet, at least for like the right price. Like you said, he's pushing 30. Taking a lot of toll on his body in the last 4 seasons at least. I mean, what would his comp be? Like, what, a 5th or 6th, a 7th? Yeah. Like, no team gonna give up a greater than a 4th round pick. I would think for him. That's probably what the Titans want.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on what the team is. Like, for example, just an idea. Maybe the Cleveland Browns trade for him. Nick Chubb is down for the year. Derrick Henry is a free agent after the season. So it's like, hey, we're in the thick of this NFC North playoff race. We're not getting the production out of our running back room that we need for our offense to flourish like it can. He's still a great between the tackles thumper. He still has some of that breakaway speed that we've seen. I think we saw on display last week. So he's still got it. And I think Cleveland might be willing to move a 4th for him. I think it becomes a little bit of a little bit of a bidding war maybe. And then Cleveland just says, "Fuck it, we'll send you a 4th."
The Browns, I think,
can see
are the 7th seed right now in the AFC playoff picture. So let's say they win this week, do they become buyers to make a push? Maybe. So I can see that point.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, then you have Nick Chubb coming back, and maybe you can even re-sign Derrick Henry for one additional year, just in case Nick Chubb has a little bit of he stumbles up the gate coming off the injury. I think it was ACL or meniscus or whatever it was. So at least you have a little bit of insulation at the position.
No.
Last couple of guys,
the Giants
real fast. Saquon Barkley, you think he's moved?
They could go with the philosophy that's blowing everything up, but we talked about Daniel Jones 2-3 weeks ago. He's going to be under contract this season. They have it out in 2025, so he's probably going to be quarterback next season too. Who else do they have besides Jones? No one else. I think Barkley makes up that offense. He's clearly the best threat for that team. Keep him. Don't move him.
Yeah. And I think this has definitely been a great testament to hey, between the two, you probably should have kept probably should have paid Barkley over Daniel Jones, but Giants are going to Giant. I agree. I don't think he's moved unless some team calls and offers like a Christian McCaffrey kind of package. I don't see Saquon being moved. I just think that the Giants are finally learning. Our quarterback's ass, but we have a really great running back, so maybe we should hold on to him. Then the last one for your Bears, Jalen Johnson in the corner. We talked mentioned a little bit earlier
Ryan
on.
Poles
Do you think he's moved
away players, good players for draft picks, and then kind of reload with subpar talent? So it's a weird philosophy for him. So I think you gotta keep him, man. He's 24. I think is his 4th season. Good locker room guy, leader. He's not a great corner, but he's probably top 20 right now. Keep him, man. Keep him. Don't. You already traded last. You traded a whole slew of guys last year, and that obviously impacted the locker room, impacted the defense. Keep Jalen Johnson. At some point, you need to keep your good players. Like just keep them. There's no reason to trade him. I mean, I don't think he's even asking for that much. I think I heard reports of around like I don't want to say the wrong number, but like 15 to 17 million a year or something like that. Keep them, man. They have $95 million in cap space. Keep them. It's easy.
I don't think he's moved for a different reason. I think he stays because teams don't really seem too inclined to be giving up draft capital with this upcoming draft. Even the trades we have seen have all been pick swaps. Like, oh, we'll, send you our 7th to get a 6th back, or whatever it is. So it tells me that these teams are really valuing the potential prospects coming up in this draft, and I don't see a lot of teams wanting to just move off that draft capital just because. And I think that's what's going to keep Jalen Johnson in Chicago. I think the Bears are going to probably have to be blown away in order to move him. But I think overall, like we kind of the theme of this trade deadline, I think is going to be pretty much a ho hum one. I think we got we might have a couple flashes here. We might see a Brian Burns moved. We probably see a 29-year-old Derrick Henry moved. But I think outside of those two flashes, I don't think there's a whole lot of other big names that are going to get shifted around too much. Mostly a lot of low-level deals. Probably Jerry Jeudy gets moved for 2025, late round swap. Cortland Sutton maybe gets moved for like a 2026 late round swap. I think that'll probably be the majority of the moves. I will say I expect the 49ers to make a move. I don't think it's going to be one we expect, but I think it's going to be like for a D lineman on a team, for maybe like the Jets for like a 6th round pick, or a corner for like a
just because of like just injuries, or
that would be like their one move for the trade deadline. So
gotcha.
I'm expecting a quiet day. They just do it every year. So a couple years ago, like the one that sticks out to me is they traded for, oh my God, I'm forgetting his name now. He played for Houston when they did a swap for him. He was a 5th round pick. They sent a 6th to get him. He ended up being a huge, impactful player for them. He was a depth piece. He just signed with Kansas City. Charles Omenihu. That's who it was. Charles Omenihu. Yeah, they got him from Houston for a 6th round pick. And it was just one of those under the radar moves. And he ended up being an absolute stud for them, who walked in free agency to Kansas City. So that's usually their MO, is they'll make either like a splash move or just a depth adding, a high upside kind of move. So yeah, that wraps up this segment for us. And that actually wraps up our podcast for this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what we do here, please give us a subscribe, a like. Go down and comment. We always respond. We always love to interact with people, even if you don't like us and like our takes. We're happy to interact with you still. But again, I've been B.
This is that time of like the day, man.
This is you guys can find us on Twitter. Yeah, it is. Super early late thing. You guys can find us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. Until next time, guys, we're the RFL Show.